So, two notes, been told to film in wide angle, so we'll start doing that from now. I've spoken to a pretty good plumber, and he says that this is actually for the dishwasher that used to be here as well. This is its drain. He said just to tape it up, so I've taped it up, tested it, and it was still leaking from around here. This rubber seal is just shit, and there's so much gunk in there. That's all basically crap, so probably going to have to replace that at some stage as well, at least that rubber seal. But yeah, so that's one mystery. And when it gets a bit cooler tonight, we might run some cables. We've got a layout now for the house, Here's our rough layout. So I'll add a switch here to do this light and then move it. So, because that's a weird position for that one to be, we'll move it more in the centre of the room. We'll add another switch back to back with a bathroom switch to two-way our kitchen circuit and add two more lights into the kitchen. I do have a bulkhead downstairs donated by Dad, so we'll probably just throw that up somewhere over in that corner, and a new one there. And we'll do another one in the hallway, two-wayed from this switch and this double switch here. So, whole bunch of cable to run, and it should be replacing a whole bunch of rubber. In the bathroom here, there's also a power circuit that I want to replace. It's the only thing on that whole circuit, and it is rubber too. So we'll do that while we can, and then tomorrow probably go through and change all these porcelain bases out, and yeah, sort out this end of it. But oh well. Got some sticky pork ribs just braising in the oven there, so that'll be good for tonight. And yeah, anything to say?
Red scissors.
Classic. So tea's cooked, means I can just really quickly put some holes in. So I've had to make some concessions. Above the skirting line here, I don't know how dark this is, but if we're going to go back to back on two of these light switches, because the timber sits halfway through the wall for the flush box to sit on, I can't have them actually back to back, so I've either got to go higher or lower. So I've had to just go higher on that one, because eventually this whole part of the house will change, and higher than the one on the stairwell for the one in the lounge. So that and that. And one very good electrician I have had the pleasure of working with for a while has come up with a method for measuring your holes out for your lights in the ceiling space. So my room was 4730 millimeters long. You divide that by 11, which is luckily that's actually an even number, and you use this pattern here: 3 intervals and then your light, then 5 intervals between, and then your light, and then there's 3 intervals left over. That's why you divide it by 11, because 3, 5, and 3 equals 11. And that's how you get a good amount of spacing between your wall and your light, and a space and good spacing between your lights as well. So it just helps spread things out a bit more, especially in a space like that. Works out really well. So 1290 off the wall, and there's my hole. So it's definitely cooled down a hell of a lot now. I'll be able to run some of these wires. We've let the cats outside today, and they've been roaming around and exploring and freaking out and coming back inside. So yeah, and we finally got the deck chairs out there on the balcony, because who wouldn't want to see that? God, I'm happy about that. Righto, all good. Tea time. Righto, so got my cables here. And these two are done. Just the state of some of this it's horrible. So happy that we took that out. So decided to make this one for the kitchen, the two-way, and had a little bit of a hold up at this one, because when we pulled the box out, it's really great. These really old boxes have like a side screw on the very corner at the top and bottom. So when you unscrew it, they sort of fit the whole box together using those screws, and they do that before the lining goes on. So when the lining goes on over top of that, you almost have to bust the edges out here when you do it. But I was sort of hoping that there was no wood directly above, but Murphy's Law, the old cable must have gone in over the top of this through that little slit you see there. But I've just drilled up a nice big 25 mil. Hello, Emma.
Hi.
Nice big 25 mil straight through to this one, and then we'll try and hook some cables if we can find them and fish them down. Then I'll be able to run two more. One to the lights in the kitchen, one to the light in the bathroom. I'm going to take that down, and then I'll need a fifth cable finally through to my switchboard area after I finish pulling the two down that are already in the roof to supply the laundry and outside. So it is 11:20 PM at night today, and still just sweating like crazy because it's that bloody hot up here. I don't know if it's just the lack of insulation or what, but oh well, that's what the weekends are for. More productive than doing nothing, I suppose. Here's a bunch of the rubber we've taken out. Okay, next step. Righto, so we have our two-way cable going up there. Don't know how dark this is going to be, but I've got three just outside the toilet and one going up. Well, basically all the cables are run through the roof at this point, except for our kitchen lights. And I've had a hell of a setback here. Tried to put the rod up because when I was drilling down through the top plate, it cut the last of the cable, so I couldn't use it as a draw. I was like, well, okay. But it turns out there's actually a dwang sitting directly above that was solid. So I've drilled the 25 mil hole up there and then tried to rod it, but we've got getting low on battery there. But yeah, we've got a cross brace right there, which is a real pain in the ass. So I'm gonna have to get some extension bits and come down through the top plate and just basically muck around like crazy. I've rodded from the other side, and I think that's snuck through, but just can't tell. But sort of getting a bit over it tonight, so we'll leave it there. It's about 11:45 at the moment, so yeah, no, we will leave it there. One other note is I had the plumber friend sort of tell me that he was happy enough to sort of guide me through replacing the vanity, and after maybe doing a bit of testing or just sort of double checking, that he'd be happy to sign that off, but still have me do a fair bit of the work. So it is good to have friends. Oh yes. So we'll get into this tomorrow, but otherwise I think we'll just leave it there. Got about halfway, I suppose, and everything in the really hard part of the roof to deal with has been done, so that is a mercy. So daylight savings today. You wouldn't really know who even knows what the days are anymore, but we've got our cables through. Turns out there was a slit between the skin and that cross brace, so we were able to get that up in there. I know that looks like a mess, but that'll be two-wayed. And I got this a couple years ago with the intention of putting it in my mum's place, but when I got up into the ceiling because I thought downlights were the shit, they're so good, but there was just so much timber I could not find anywhere to cut this out. So I was like, alright, well I could maybe at least put it up there, but that hole's just too big now, so we'll have to figure out something else. Whatever we got to do, just got to try and do it cheap. So maybe just get a bit of plywood and cover that over and drill a hole in it, or yeah, I don't know. So there's the other two-way coming from red, white, blue, feed, common, 2. Very simple. No, I've had some debates about that in the workshop a couple of times. So, well then, I've sort of decided that because there's literally only one thing on that power circuit at the moment, I'll add a power point up in the roof space as well, so I can plug my work light in straight up there, or whatever, heat transfer system or whatever in future. It's just going to be way better. So yeah, I just thought I'd also say I'm not giving electrical tips or anything here because that's what your tradesman's for, really. But when you're making these off, it makes it so much easier if you line up across there your outer sheaths, and then you trim all these other little wires to be the same length. That just makes everything a lot easier and neater and tidier when you push this back up and fit your switches off. The other tip is to always label, get your Vivid out. It makes it so much easier, especially if you're on a bigger site. You might have all these coming out and taped off, and the plasterer will come along and plaster it up, and occasionally they'll just plaster straight over there and you'd lose it, or they have been known sometimes to just cut the wires back as they see fit. So label a couple of times if you can. The one other trick that I've been taught over the years is if you diagonally cut on all of your feed cables. So EL will be my entrance light, L for just the light in this hallway. But if you diagonally cut at the bottom of your feed cable, that means that whenever it comes to it, and you come to fit this off, you at least know, unless they've come through and cut it themselves, the bastards, you at least know which ones the feeds are. The lights you can work out, just doing continuity test through, that's a lot easier than trying to figure out the feeds. And if you liven it up, as long as you've got your feeds right, you can just liven up each light and go, oh, okay, well that one's turning on, and so that must be this one then, and figure it out from there. But, yep, so just doing all the switches, we'll fit off all of these lights, and then we will come through to our switchboard and do that this afternoon. So, yeah. Yep. It's a shame we can't be doing more outside stuff, seeing as this is the only week of sunshine, but oh well. This one here, the back of the kitchen, doesn't fit back, so I'm gonna have to just chisel out some of this trim. It's freaking weird though, because like, why would you put a light switch there? Why wouldn't you just go down a little bit and avoid this altogether, or up a little bit and avoid this altogether? It's just weird. And then in the bathroom, it's the same. Like, they've half chiseled this bit out, so yeah. Oh, and I noticed this. Check out these windows up here. Like, the frame comes up, and then there's just like a little random bit of wood stuck in, and then that piece is blocked out. Same for that. Like, no one does windows like this. It's just so much to do. Emma's finally getting the kitchen sorted out, aren't you, Emma?
Yeah.
Yep. Found places for just about everything? Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is why these ladders are good. You can adjust each side as you want, so that you can work up on steps and have it very stable and very good. So we're looking at, sorry, still in with this camera angle thing. So got one of these sort of vintage bulkheads, I suppose. What we call a bulkhead in our trade is a lot different to what a builder knows as a bulkhead, but it's a story for another day. So I think we'll just put that just on the right hand side of that camera, right in the corner. It's not a sensor light, so it'll only be turned on when we're outside here, sort of thing, for whatever reason. So as long as it doesn't like interrupt the camera, or maybe if we go away on a trip and we want to leave a couple lights on, to another deterrent. Yeah, I don't know. All right. This is the last light for me to fit off. The one in the kitchen we'll just leave alone, and decide if we really need to put one in there later on. I certainly will cover the hole up at least. So, yeah. Just want to say thanks to modern manufacturers for learning from their mistakes. So, just everything's been going wrong with this. There's a little nut in the bolt through the actual like ceramic lamp holder that held a bit of plastic on that sort of stopped you from getting the wires in the first place. So you had to take that off, but then it was just absolute pain in the bum to put that back on. And if you don't put that back on, the lamp holder doesn't actually sit in the fitting. And then I was like, all right, well, okay, it's Edison screw. This one I think came out of the kitchen, and is the only like Edison screw I think I've actually got at the moment, which is a shame because putting it in was too long for this glass shroud. And then trying to just like ease it in and wiggle it back and make it work, busted the end of it. So now it's just not even a light bulb there. I mean, yeah, it's made off so we can liven the circuit up and everything, but still, like, be nice if it just bloody worked. No, well. Meanwhile, Emma's inside. Let's get a wee peek at her. She is scrubbing all these walls down and getting as much crap off as she can, so she can have a wee painting session sometime in the near future. That's alright, getting through it. I got a 40 watt like little fancy Living Co thing, and that'll fit. I'll throw out bugger all light. It's only, as I said, 40 watt, and it's like a spiral shape on the filament on the inside, but that'll do. Well, I guess that wasn't recording just now, but that's alright. So we've turned things on, and lounge light unaffected, which is good because I hadn't actually touched that, but that's a job for another day, is to put those cables in. We've gotten rid of this more rubber that went down to a power point that was on one of those posts that's just swinging on the wall that I need to replace downstairs, and then that went from there over to the hallway one. So the hallway one won't work anymore until we fix that up, and it is good to have one. But our lights work, our two-way does work, and this kitchen is so much brighter now, so much better. Yeah, good result end of the day. That power point's working as well. Sweet. And I'll just show you how dim this one out here is. Like, it might as well not even be there. And the crazy thing is that's a 40 watt bulb, so it might as well like not be there at all because it uses 3 times as much power for that amount of light output. It's nothing. That's just how it is, I suppose. 3 times as much power as one of these LEDs that we've got everywhere else. But yeah, it's been about 4 days since we've had the ability to see this sort of thing. So, good result. I'll change out a few more of these later on, but getting sort of hungry, so time to cook tea. But yeah, good weekend. Emma's been really busy scraping all these walls down, and it turns out that the one that she's by at the moment had wallpaper up to the window and no further. And then, well, yes, but I mean long ways down the length of the wall. And this wall had wallpaper on it, but these other two and above the fireplace didn't. It was just paint. So she's learnt how to do some plastering. It's still wet, don't touch it, Zach. Yeah, going alright. But we'll call it there, and we'll see when we have time to get into it. Picked up a little side gig, little essential side gig over lockdown, so that's good to have something coming in as suppose. But that's alright. Got to keep quiet about that for now. Cool.